So then looking in, this is the toilet. That blue plastic is a urine diverting insert. So when you use the toilet, your body naturally separates pee and poo. So the urine goes to the front and goes down through a tube into a small container with a 5-gallon jug.
Okay.
And then the poop just drops straight into that bucket.
Okay.
So you'd attach a toilet seat here. And this is the front part of it is where the urine goes. So you can see it goes down there. So it sits, and then you attach.
And down through some tubing.
You attach a tube there, and it kind of screws on. And then you put the tube into your urine tank.
This is Peak Moment. We are living at a peak of human innovation, information, wealth, and health. But we're also at a peak of population and consumption, with rising temperatures and declining resources fueled by cheap oil and gas. Peak Moment Television, bringing you examples of positive responses to energy decline and climate change through local community action.
Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson. I'm in a lovely backyard in a house in Oakland, and my guest today is Laura Allen. Thanks for joining me. So you call your house the Hot House, which, let me get this right, the house of appropriate urban technology. So what do you mean by that?
In our house, we believe in reusing and recycling rather than wasting and polluting our resources. So we recycle all of our water. We reuse all the gray water from our house to grow food-producing plants. We have about 15 fruit trees that we grow.
So this is part of that lusciousness. This is gorgeous.
We grow a lot of
15
food.
fruit trees?
Yeah, about. Wow. A lot of dwarf fruit trees and semi-dwarf.
Okay.
We also harvest rainwater. We have any space we have rain barrels that collect the rainwater to use later.
Okay. Off the roof, just down the eaves, right?
Yeah, and we do composting. We raise food we have chickens. We feed them our compost scraps, get eggs from them. We also have a beehive where we collect honey and they pollinate the whole neighborhood.
Wow, that's wonderful. I must tell folks, you have to be here. It's warm, the bees are all happy, the chickens are happy. We'll get some pictures later. And it feels like like the Garden of Eden, kind of, in this little space.
Yeah, and we also recycle we have a composting toilet, so we collect the nutrients from our household, what's considered waste, and we turn it into fertilizer for our landscape.
That's a little more unusual. You collect human waste. So is that like humanure? Is that what?
Yeah, you turn it into human. So humanure is recycling what's called waste. But the compost pile, you get compost from food scraps or garden scraps.
Okay.
And it's the same process, but we just, there's no water involved. It saves, tons of water, and then you can create a valuable fertilizer that you can use in your land.
So looking at the bigger picture of why, even with a low flush toilet, that uses less water, what are the advantages for using a composting toilet?
Well, water defecating into fresh drinking water, it really is kind of an insane thing, and it's been happening for a really long time, and we have these huge problems with, wasting water. It uses a lot of water, which is unusable, and then we also have this infrastructure that it gets sent to our sewage treatment plants, which can't really handle the way, they're old, they're failing. In the United States, 850 billion gallons of untreated sewage flows out into rivers and bays and oceans every year.
Wow.
So this is a really big problem. It's just old, and it's not a sustainable way to deal with.
So we may all need to move in this direction just because we're overloading the systems that we have.
Decentralized is much easier to manage, and a composting toilet, home composting toilet, is one way to address that.
You do classes, you do workshops on this to try and encourage other people to do it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a few weeks ago it was an evening lecture called The Lowdown on Pee and Poo, and it was about kind of the global picture. This is happening all over the world, in every continent around the world. People are looking at this as a source of fertilizer. Urine is a great nitrogen fertilizer, and then also just in places where people don't have sewers or septics, composting toilets are a way to address the sanitation crisis. And a lot of interest from the community in this topic.
I've been intrigued about this, but I would expect this is not your ordinary American Next Remodel project. What's the sense you have from people? Are people excited the people that are coming, or is this sort of still a tiptoeing? How are
They're-
people responding?
From different sectors of, some people are really excited and doing it, and other people are interested and, fascinated and kind of want to know more. I think urine harvesting is more where people feel comfortable starting. It's really easy and it's kind of less intimidating of a process. I think there's more interest in that.
So, to go back for a second, urine harvesting, collecting your pee, and then what do you do with that?
You can use it as a fertilizer. So
Directly?
Directly, yeah. You can dilute it with water and then fertilize your plants, or you can just dump it on your compost pile and it gives a big nitrogen surge to your compost.
Fabulous. Yeah, you need the
Yeah.
nitrogen back in the pile.
Yeah, people, basically all the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium that we eat that's in plants, as adults, we don't need that, so it just passes straight through us. So, and plants do need it to grow, so it's a really great way to close the nutrient loops.
Might as well give it back from where it came.
Yeah.
I heard somewhere that when Napoleon put in all the underground sewers and so on in Paris, that the farmers used to come come into the city and get the night soil, get the pee and poo, and take it out and fertilize the fields. And they had to begin to do commercial fertilizers then because it was being washed away.
Yeah, cultures, all over the world have used night soil to fertilize fields, and in some places it wasn't composted before, so that could cause a lot of health risks. So if someone was sick, they could just spread disease, but if it's composted first, it's totally safe. So all over Asia, all over the world, people have used that. It's a very ancient practice as well as in the United States.
For doing it here, is it legal? Do you have to have a permit to do this?
There's really, most states don't have laws about composting toilets, so you have to look at where other laws fit in. There's a plumbing code that says every building has to have a toilet that's connected to the sewer or a septic.
Okay.
Our house has two. It has a toilet upstairs. There's a flush toilet. There are laws about transporting human waste. So if you are like a porta potty company, you have to have a special license to transport it. But if you're composting it in your backyard, it's not going anywhere.
Of course.
It's staying on your same property. So you're not breaking that law. Then there's like public decency laws where you can't expose yourself in public, and if you don't do that, you're not breaking that law. Okay. Then there would be like nuisances. So if you create something that's smelly or bothers your neighbors, then you could have a nuisance issue. But if you do a properly maintained composting toilet, it will be out of sight. It won't smell. It won't really cause a problem for your house.
So it's not illegal.
It's not
really
illegal.
If you're doing it right. Well, what other bigger factors haven't we talked about? It's good for the environment.
It saves a lot of water, so it's a really great way to save water. Good for the environment. It's it feels good to not be contaminating fresh drinking water every day when people all over the world don't have any water to drink. Yeah. So it definitely kind of aligns personally my values and how I want to live in the world. So it's just whenever I'm somewhere else, I'm like, oh man, I have to use this bathroom with all this clean drinking water in it. It's very It's like if you're used to not doing that, it's like a big shock of wow, what are we really doing with our water and why?
How about let's see your composting toilet? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Let's go. Well, I must say, Laura, that when you walk into the room, it looks like a throne. It's beautiful, actually, with the tile work and so on.
Yeah, this is the third iteration, and we tried to make it pretty. The other ones didn't look so nice. The same concept, but
it's very inviting.
We're going for
really
the tile work.
So tell us, show us, how does this work?
So this is a composting toilet, and it's basically just a collection. So this is a bathroom. This part, resembles a regular toilet. So this is a toilet seat. We turned it inside out and added foam. So this whole chamber is airtight, because you don't want odor coming into the bathroom.
Right.
So this is a sealed chamber. There's a vent going up to the roof. And
so this, let me just back up. This box, this chamber, which adjoins to your outer wall.
Yeah.
And you have an air vent that goes.
Yeah. So it's a vented
out.
chamber, so any odors will go out.
Okay.
They should go out in a way. You don't want it coming into your bathroom. So when you lift the lid, you can see the foam.
Yeah, there's some foam. Let's look at that. Some cushy foam to just keep it sealed against the toilet seat.
The toilet seat. But it's just a regular toilet seat, just turned backwards, and usually they're those little plastic things. We removed them and put a handle on it.
Okay.
And so then looking in, this is the toilet. That blue plastic is a urine diverting insert. So when you use the toilet, your body naturally separates pee and poo. So the urine goes to the front and goes down through a tube into a small container with a 5-gallon jug.
Okay.
And then the poop just drops straight into that bucket.
Okay. Okay. And then
So you use the toilet
the way you normally do.
the way you normally do.
Right.
You add wood shavings. So if you pooped, you add wood shavings. So instead of toilet paper, you would just add a scoopful of wood shavings, which covers it. It creates air gaps. It does help with odor. It helps with just creating a more aerobic environment.
And so what you said earlier is that the wood chips tend to create air spaces between all the fecal matter, which helps.
Yeah, it helps the aerobic bacteria.
So
break
they
it
come
down.
eat it and break it down
Yeah.
more quickly. Okay. So you
And
can.
you
go ahead.
can put in toilet paper, put in wood shavings, and then that bucket is, when it's full, we empty it into a larger collection. And so it's basically the same process as any composting, just a regular backyard composter, but because it's human feces, you have to treat it so it make sure it's isolated, keep it separate, because you don't want anyone to come in contact with it before it's fully composted.
Okay.
So that's for the health.
Sure,
prevent,
sure, that makes
spread
sense.
of
So you have
disease.
your yard waste compost separate from your human waste
Yeah,
compost.
exactly.
While we're here, would you show sort of the anatomy of the parts that you've got here?
So what we did when we wanted to build this, we wanted to have the urine diversion. So we bought a urine diverting insert. This is a Separate. It's a Swedish company. And when you buy it, it looks like this. So it has...
So they've already given you a little toilet kind of
Yeah,
styrofoam
oops, I put
seat
it on
and a little
backwards.
lid. That's okay.
Yeah, so it fits on. So we just took, instead of using the foam toilet seat, we just used a regular one.
Okay. So there's the little lid.
Yeah, and you can see how it's airtight, the way they put it.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to use their blue foam, you can just, use a regular one. So you'd attach a toilet seat here. And this is, the front part of it is where the urine goes. So you can see it goes down there. So it sits, and then you attach.
And down through some
Yeah,
tubing.
you attach a tube there, and it kind of screws on. And then you put the tube into your urine tank. In some places this could go straight outside, like straight to a planted area, like
Really?
Yeah, like a bamboo or other plants that can take straight urine. It's pretty strong.
So you could just run it out to the garden.
Yep, you could drill a
and
small hole.
fertilize. I mean,
Yeah.
directly. I mean, if you use. All right.
Probably it would be too much as a fertilizer, so it would be more of like an ecological kind of disposal area. But if it was in a place where people didn't want to maintain it or use the urine, you could just run it into a carbon sink, even like a straw bale or something.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but that's...
But in your case, what you do is it goes to a bucket, just an open bucket.
I'll show you, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
When we go outside. But yeah, basically, that's how it works. So this is purchased, and then the rest is kind of custom built to fit our bathroom, which we have a concrete floor, so we can't collect it below the ground. We had to build up.
I see. That's why it's a throne.
Yeah, that's why it's a throne.
So that you can collect it out the side.
Yeah.
Because you don't have space. Yeah, to go
Some
underneath.
people have like a crawl space or something underneath,
Right.
and they can just so it can all be below the ground. So their toilet could be a normal size. But we have a cement floor, so...
So you had to work
so
with
that's
that.
what we did.
Okay. And there's a little note here. I just thought this is nice for guests. After your deposit, please add a scoopful of sawdust to cover. Everybody needs to sit to use the toilet for pee or poo. Of course, because if a male person's standing up, they're going to send the urine to the wrong bucket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people might choose to have a separate urinal for
Okay.
the men, but most, in our
Yeah,
house.
for one unit, it just probably doesn't make sense to have a separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll see all this, but the final product turns into basically a moist soil amendment. This is, a couple years old.
It smells like good clean earth, like when you go walk in the redwoods, or it's just nice and earthy. Yeah, I can see it's a little bit moist, but crumbly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it smells clean, I bet if people are surprised when you do your classes. Are they surprised this isn't stinky?
I pass this around. It says this is human manure composted for 1 year, open and smell, and it's fun to watch people's faces. A lot of them do, not everyone though. Some people are like, pass it quickly to the next person, like they don't even want to touch it.
Well, I can affirm that it smells, like I say, like a good woods. Mm-hmm. Well, let's go see what you do next with this.
So I'll show you the hatch where we collect the buckets and can get it out of the bathroom. What we did, in our previous toilets, we had the collection from the inside, so we had to carry them through the house, which is a little bit like not we would prefer just to bring it straight outside. So
Okay.
the more recently with this one, we cut a hole into the house and created a little hatch, which is this, so that way you can access it from outside. You don't have to carry anything through the house. And there's a roof over here. We're in the chicken area, but there's a rain shield right here, so this doesn't get wet.
Ah, okay. And you've got foam here so that it's protected against
Yeah, it's sealed, so bugs
and
things don't get in the house. So here you can see the collection area. This is just a wooden box. It's all sealed up.
So that's what we saw on the other side with the tile on the other side. Okay.
Yep, the tile. So that's a 5-gallon bucket. That's a 5-gallon like oil container, like olive oil. It had a cooking oil in it. So when once a week we empty it. So we just pull out the bucket. We have a lid right there. We put the lid on, pull it out. We put the lid on the urine tank, pull it out so it doesn't spill. And then, so we take it out. This is the vent.
This is the beginning of the vent, so that goes up.
And it goes up to the roof. So venting is really important. We have a screen on it so flies don't get in because it's not screened from above. So you don't want flies to get in there.
You wouldn't want them to be propagating.
Yeah.
So it's really pretty simple. I think you just make it as easy as it works for you to be able to take your collecting buckets or liquids to be able to handle them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And our house had some challenges. I mean, the concrete floor, this is our foundation, so we kind of limited by, if they're kind of sunken in, so you have to pull them over. So we have a little bit harder setup than a lot of people do just because of the way our house is built.
So I can see that what one needs to do is you have to think about what you have and adapt what your building is. So how long did this take to build?
We have a friend who's a contractor, and he built the wooden box in a couple of hours, I would say. This couple of hours.
On the door.
Yeah,
the door.
We tiled the inside under supervision. Peter and I tiled it, and that took a couple of hours.
So really, you could do this in a weekend?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's not much at all. Well, but you're venting.
The vent, we connected it into the toilet vent above, where the toilet comes down, so it's not a lot of extra venting.
Right, if you've got an existing
vent
line there.
Yeah, but if you have to run your own vent, everything takes a couple hours.
Yeah, right. That's not much at all.
Yeah, a weekend.
And I will attest for everyone who can't smell that I don't smell anything offensive here. I mean, it's not...
And this sometimes does have some odor. When you open this, sometimes there is, like towards the end of the week when the urine is more full. But it doesn't usually it shouldn't get into the house, so that's why this is the sealed area.
So out here, a little bit, it just...
We're in the chicken coop. I mean, there's chicken poop.
That's true. I mean, it's like we're on the side run here of this house. You've got chickens running.
Yeah.
So, everybody poops here. Then what do you do with them when you empty them?
So what we do, the urine, if it's during the growing season, we use it as a fertilizer. Urine is
directly in your garden?
In the garden. We usually add it to the base of plants that need. It's a nitrogen-based fertilizer, so growing trees, peppers. We've had really good success with peppers not having enough fertilizer and then getting the urine, they just took off.
Pepper pea, okay.
So fertilizing, usually you can use it directly and then water afterwards because you don't want, just direct is too strong, or you can dilute it and then fertilize. But it's easier just to pour it into the mulched soil, add water after.
Okay.
Then in the winter when we don't need it as a fertilizer, we just take it on our compost pile.
In your greens, your yard waste compost pile. Okay.
Yeah, urine is sterile in a residential setting. It's typically sterile. There's one disease that is transmitted by urine, but it's found in tropical places. It's schistosomiasis, so it's really not of concern in this country. And if it's your own urine, your own garden, it's not of concern. So it can be used right away, sterile, safe, and can be used on food crops. Anything that needs fertilizer. The poop, on the other hand, is different. You want to fully compost it, make sure it's totally processed before using it in the garden.
So if we had in hand the bucket of poop,
so we
where do we go? We'll head that way.
Yeah. So we wanted to put the collection bins in an out-of-the-way place. So this is on the side of our house. It's really shady, so there's really nothing. We can't really grow anything over here. There's a fence, bamboo, bunch of pipes,
so
chicken coop.
Unusable space.
Unusable space. Out of the way, no one's gonna really come over here. We have 3, these are 55-gallon drums, And
They're
so
plastic.
yeah, they're
ones,
plastic.
right?
So with these, the key parts are you want air to flow around because you want the aerobic bacteria are the kind that compost. If it gets anaerobic, it just smells. So that's, the anaerobic bacteria just aren't as pleasant to have in your vicinity. So we have air. There's vents. They're all screened. We don't want flies to get in here.
Let's look here. You've got
So-
screen. So this is open. I see. You just got some netting on
Yeah,
top of it.
in the winter during the rainy season, we put a lid on and keep it because we don't want rain to get in.
Accumulating rain
Yeah,
in here.
that would
Okay.
definitely not be a good thing. And then in the summer when there's no rain, we just take it off and have the screens.
So it'd be like this.
Yeah.
Right. And I see that you have screening on top, and you've also got some venting that you've added. Is that right? You
that's a
added
vent.
this in the middle of it.
To add air in. There's different ways to do it. You really just want air. Like this one, I'll show you.
Okay.
This has a net hung in it,
Oh.
and so that allows air to flow all
I
around.
see. So you just got your
So it's like a
waste is going to accumulate in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and then the air will
Yeah, so air can go around it.
it'll speed up. And
It
I will
helps
say
the-
again, it does not smell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a sawdust pile is what it kind of reminds me.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, thanks. This is getting a little old, so it's double layered. So yeah, the screening, the isolation, those are the safety things, and then the function is getting letting it get too wet. The urine diversion really helps with that. It just makes the composting process so much easier.
Now, why do you have 3 of these?
So we want this to compost for a minimum of a year. This is a slow composting process. It's different than the hot compost piles where it gets up to like 140 degrees.
Would kill everything
Yeah,
off,
those would
yeah.
everything happen really quickly. It's hard to get your compost pile really hot, and if you're doing this responsibly, you'd have to really monitor the temperature, and we're not that on top of. We don't want to have to really make sure.
So this is the lazy person's
This is
way
the
to
lazy
get
person's
Good, I
way.
like
You
that.
wait a
Easy
long
way, the
time.
easy
Yeah,
way.
this is the easy way. It's called a moldering toilet.
Moldering.
Moldering.
How do you spell that?
Don't quote me.
M-O-U-L?
M-O-U-L-D,
Molder.
moldering, E-R. So
Okay.
it's a slower, the bacteria just live at a lower temperature that are breaking it down.
And so you have 3 because they're at different.
Stages. So you fill one up. So this is, you fill one up, let it finish, it's done, let it sit for a full year and
Okay.
maybe longer if you need to. If it gets colder, if you're in a colder climate, it happens slower, so you might need to wait 2 years, like your cold winter
And you're
times.
just waiting until it just sort of smells earthy and doesn't have any other strong odor? Is
Yeah.
that, how do you know it's done?
I have a compost crank, and this is a way to
A
kind of.
compost crank.
It's a compost crank. It's a way to get into the compost without
Getting your fingers in
getting
there.
your fingers in there. Yeah, so you
It's a
can.
little coil.
Yeah, you push it, you coil down, you lift it up. You can, just check and see how it's doing down. On the top, you can see.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so you want it to be done. You can see it's done.
So as you crank, you can pull it up and find out is it
done?
dry and crumbly or
Yeah.
Okay, alrighty.
Yeah, and so wait a year, check it. If you get cold winters, that shouldn't count as part of your time. You need a year of like moderately.
warmish weather.
Yeah.
So then you've got a year's, couple of years worth you're working on here.
Yeah, so this one is full and sitting. This is about 8 months old, so it's
Okay,
kind of going to process. This one just finished, that's new, and this is our one we're starting to fill.
You know what I
now.
should have asked is how many people's worth does this take
This
care
is
of?
about 3 people regular
Okay.
use.
3 adults? Okay.
And the great thing about this system is if we found out that, we don't have enough, like it's a year and they're all full, we don't have anything to empty, we can just get another one. So
You can just keep
just
adding
keep
buckets
adding.
into your
So it's really
pile.
good for if you have 20 people come to visit you and you don't have to say like, no, you can't use my toilet because I don't have enough composting room. You're like, sure, and you may have to empty it sooner, but it's really great for change in number of people and that
It's
kind
flexible.
of thing. It's very flexible.
And probably not terribly expensive. How much do the buckets cost?
Oh, these we got at the salvage yard. They were like $10 each.
That's the way to go. That's the way
Yeah,
to go.
and some people use like a regular city compost bin, like the black plastic ones. They just put it at the back of their shed. You can just, as long as you keep it away from people and make sure it's kind of its own sealed area.
Laura, you showed us your unit, the blue unit. Show us what else is possible, or tell us what else people can find out there for equipment.
Well, there's lots of different, this is kind of a custom-made composting toilet using the urine diverting insert. There's also urine diverting toilets. So this is one example. It's made in Mexico. It's fiberglass. So you could just pee right there and it would go into the urine diverting funnel. If you have to poop, you lift the lid And you can see,
So that,
yeah, and this would be above a collection chamber. So if you had like a crawl space under your house, you could, right underneath it, you would cut a hole in your floor and have the collection
so
happening.
this could just take the places that you move your ceramic toilet, and this could replace it. Almost.
Almost. You would. There's plumbing under your regular
Sure,
toilet, so
sure,
but basically
sure.
you move it over to the side, a place where you can cut a hole in the floor and have
Okay.
this. You want to drop into some kind of collection chamber.
Okay.
There's porcelain urine diverting toilets that you can purchase that are more expensive. There are, in the United States, most of the companies that make toilets here, they don't separate out the urine. And a lot of those toilets have a lot of issues with odor, with excess moisture. The composting process doesn't happen very quickly.
Right.
So you really, if you're thinking of doing this, you want to make sure that you get a toilet that's accustomed to everyday use.
Right.
Or you
right.
can, like the toilet I have, once it's full, you just empty it into a larger container. So it's not a problem with the, overuse is not going to be an issue.
Right.
But a lot of the manufactured toilets, they're a certain size, and if you fill them too fast, then you're out of luck. Yeah, what do you do?
Right,
So
right.
people really should make sure they get something
A
that
way
will
to-
work
that
for
they
them.
can-
an easy way to empty it.
Yeah, and I can see that because you need to evaporate all that moisture out,
If
the
you have
urine
urine.
diverter makes a whole lot of sense.
The urine diverter makes it, so much better.
How much do these kind of units cost? Give me a range of
The blue plastic insert that you saw, that's about $120. So yeah, and then the rest, how you create your toilet, you can go super fancy with, expensive tile, or you could just have a nice wooden painted box or stained.
Right.
So it can be, just a few more dollars above that, or it could be a few $100
Sure.
above that. And if you hire someone, the labor cost would add on to that as well.
Right. It's just a few hours here and a few hours here, but you could have it
Yeah.
done in maybe most of a day.
Yeah,
Nice.
definitely.
Great. And
and
your website.
and our website, graywateraction.org, we have some examples. We always want more of people's projects with details of how to build them. And we have information on composting toilets and a lot of links. So if you go to our site, you can find your way around
everything else.
Yeah.
And you guys do classes, right? Or workshops and help
We
people
do.
install this?
Yeah, we teach people how to do these simple low-tech solutions.
Great. I love it. The Pee and Poo, transformation of the cities. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the tour. Thank you for pioneering this. And I hope to use it and see how it works.
Yeah.
You're watching Peak Moment, locally reliant living for challenging times. My guest is Laura Allen, who just gave us a fabulous tour of an urban composting toilet. Join us next time.